you very much for joining us for the second of our alumni webinar series. I'm Jamie Andrews. I'm the president of the Students' Union.
I'm Jim Irving. I'm University Secretary and Registrar at Solent University in Southampton.
And we've been asked to host this webinar as part of the YSJ University Alumni Series, Alumni Journeys, Creativity, Careers and Community. But also because of a podcast that Jim and I did back in 2021 called Boys Don't Cry, alongside some other members of staff across the university. So before we introduce today's speakers, and there's just a couple of housekeeping matters just to make you aware of, we will be hosting a question and answer at the end. So for any participants, if you use the Q&A section box to submit any questions that you have during the talk, and then we'll do our best to cover as many of those as we can at the end of the presentation. And there's also an auto transcript appearing during the talk for increased accessibility. However, despite the increases in modern technology, it might not translate perfectly. I'll try my best not to let my Mancunian accent slip through, and I'll speak slowly so that it picks me up. So thank you very much for that. So swiftly moving on then to the main reason why we are here today, I'd like to introduce to you Jack Woodhams and Daniel Braidley, founders of Yorkie Dads and Menfulness. Hello. Thank you very much for taking time out of your schedule to come and join us today. It's absolutely wonderful to have you here.
Thanks for having us. It's a pleasure.
Thanks, Jamie. Cheers.
Excellent. It's great to have you here. So Jack and Dan founded Yorkie Dads in 2014, which is a community for dads to talk, share experiences and find community. And in 2018, they used their experience of Yorkie Dads to set up Menfulness, a local mental health support group for men in York and in the local area. Since leaving York St John University Jack, apparently you left in 2004 and Dan in 2005. You've navigated a number of positions in several industries, but it's clear that your passion for supporting the local community and its needs has led you to starting these fantastic groups, and we are so excited to hear more about that. By highlighting the needs of the local community, particularly the need for better mental health support for men, you've embarked on a journey, Jack and Dan have embarked on a journey that has allowed you to build partnerships and to create new services for the community. And I think probably that is enough from me. So without any further delay, I'm going to hand over to Jack and to Dan, and we will disappear, Jamie and I, off into the background. Over to you.
Thank you very much. I will just share my screen. Can everyone see that? Is that on?
I can, Daniel, yeah.
Yeah, we can indeed.
Good stuff. I just wanted to check before I start waffling on. Right. There we go. Right. Technology's working. Right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Dan Braidley. I am, like Jack, an alumni from York St John. I am currently an Environment and Sustainability Manager at York Hospital with the NHS. Jack, do you just want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello. Wonderful to be here. I'm Jack Woodhams. Alongside Daniel and a few of our friends, we set up Yorkie Dads and Menfulness. I'm currently on the secondment over at York CBS as a co-production champion. It's a long story, but I won't tell you all about it.
We'll get to that, Jack. We'll get to it. Right. Jack and I will now share with you some details about our time at York St John, a bit about our career since then to the present day, and what led us to Yorkie Dads and Menfulness. And also we'll probably share a few personal details as well, because that's absolutely part of our journey and why we're doing what we're doing. So to give you a bit of background about myself, I grew up in Rochdale, had a happy childhood, nothing to complain about. Played a lot of football, did all the Duke of Edinburgh's awards, worked at Tesco on the fruit and veg. I worked on the gates at Rochdale Football, everything was good. And I moved to York and started at York St John at the same time as Jack in September 2001, which is 20 years ago, which is a bit scary when we think about it now. I'm 40 this year, so it was a while back now. It was also the week after 9/11, as I recall, so it was quite a funny time to start uni. The world was in an odd place at the time. My course was English Lit and American Studies, and in a nutshell, I had a fantastic time at St John's. I look back at that period of my life with great affection. I'm sure we'll talk more about it after this presentation. But I love spending time at York. I loved the sense of community at St John's. I made so many good friends. It was a really supportive environment. All things that I think are YSJ's USPs that I would imagine are still there, and a lot of people would agree with me. In terms of my time there outside of the course, I knocked about with the rugby league team. I was a student ambassador, so I would work on open days, do schools outreach work, which was a fantastic experience at the time. I did bar work, retail. I put golf shop there, if you can see that. I worked at a golf shop in town. I ended up managing it at weekends. I've never played golf in my life. It was terrible. I was blagging people to buy £300 Nike drivers and things like that. So I probably picked up a bit of patter and sales patter there and relationship building. And then when I finished York St John, my idea at the time was to be a teacher, but that didn't really work out for me. So I ended up doing 9 months as a graduate intern in the marketing office at York St John, which was really a continuation of the student ambassador work, albeit at a more professional level. And it was a really good experience at the time. But when I left, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. I ended up doing a postgrad qualification at York College in marketing, the CIM there. That was a 2-year course, and I crammed it into 1 year, which in hindsight was lunacy. It was far too much. At the time, I had a 9-to-5 job at Business Link, which was something based up at Monk's Cross. So I was busy, and then on top of that, and there's a reason why I mentioned this, I started doing martial arts. I got into Muay Thai kickboxing. And to be honest, that particularly changed my life. It got me fit. It gave me discipline. I started cooking because I started looking at my diet. I met my wife, who I met the lady who I would eventually marry there. My confidence and self-esteem went through the roof. And the best analogy I can give was starting Muay Thai was for me, kind of like finding religion. When you say people find religion and they find faith and it has a positive impact on every aspect of their life, that's what it did for me. The problem was I was burning the candle at both ends. I was training very hard. I was really fit, but I was doing all these other things as well. And I recall in November 2007 being really tired, as in really tired every day. And then I woke up one Friday morning and the entire side of my face was paralyzed. I'd got Bell's palsy, which is essentially an extreme cold. It affects the nerves in your face. So most people get it and it just affects their mouth or their eye, and it'll just slightly droop, and then it'll recover within a few weeks. For me, the entire nerve endings on the right side of my face died completely. So I was literally sagging. I lost my smile, essentially. I had to wear an eye patch for a year. And it was quite bizarre, really, because the 2 years leading up to that was one of the happiest phases of my life. I was absolutely flying. And then it just all came crashing down. Within 3 months after I got the Bell's palsy, I lost my job. I got kidney stones. My love life went down the pan. And it was all extremely stressful, to be honest. And it left me with self-esteem and confidence issues for years. It took me a long time to get through it. I've come to terms with it now, but and I smile, it's still there. It's left me with permanent paralysis. So, it's a significant part of my journey, albeit one I could have done without. But what I ended up doing was moving to Leeds. I had a good few years in Leeds. I bought a flat. I had a steady job working in schools in Leeds, and that was steady away, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. And in 2012, I got with Donna, who is now my wife, and moved back to York. Went through various contracts, and I ended up working at City of York Council in transport. And via that, I started working with York Hospital with the NHS Trust, and that has led to where I am now. And during that time, I had the fortune of reconnecting with Jack, and we started Yorkie Dads, which went on to become Menfulness, which we'll go into in a minute. My son was born. I adopted my daughter. Got married. My life turned around for the better, and that brings us to the present day. I'm an NHSer for life. I've got a really good job at the hospital, working at quite a senior level. I've really landed on my feet. They put me through another postgrad course last year. And while this is going on, menfulness is really taking off, as we'll go into. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. When I look back on my journey from 15 years ago, I'm quite proud, to be honest, because from where I was to where I am now, it's quite a turnaround. And yeah, you know, times can be challenging, but I've got a lot of good things going on. So yeah, that's me. Right, I'll pass you on to Jack.
Okay, hello everyone. So I'm just going to briefly talk about what led me to here, and what's inspired myself and Dan to form Yorkie Dads and now Menfulness. So so pre Yorks and John, I've got 5 brothers. I was brought up in Kent. I went to the British School of Performing Arts for a couple of years, which was quite a good time. I went, I went to school with Adele, which is my claim to fame. Obviously, I'm doing a little bit better than her at the moment. And I went to Edinburgh Festival, and I had a really happy childhood. So pre the course that I studied, which is it was communication arts, really good course, enjoyed it, and met my wife over at university, and just had one of the best times ever, really. So life was pretty smooth, life was on track. I was easing and breezing it. It was all going very well. Over at the Students' Union, loved my rugby life. I also loved musical theatre, and being part of that and being in the theatre group. I had some quite interesting jobs over at the Students' Union. One being on the door staff there, and the other one, which I've got a few stories to tell over working at York Dungeons as well, which is a fantastic job to be hungover in. The best job to be hungover in. You're allowed to smell. So. And then my career took on. So like Jamie, I was elected as Students' Union president. The other thing was just running smoothly. I was really happy. Whilst the Student Union president, North Yorkshire Police started to do their training at York St John randomly, and then I got a job within the training department. A wonderful job. I was out there playing cops and robbers with volunteers coming in and sorting out student union, sorting out placements for the students. And then, so up until this point, wow, my life has just been smoothing it, easy and breezing it, and then redundancy hit. And I've never really felt anything quite like that. That kind of just everything just fell, and I didn't know who I was as a person. I couldn't believe it. I was in shock, and sadly, my life just really quickly spiraled, and I didn't feel like I was myself. I was over the doctors, over the GPs, and certainly, although it wasn't diagnosed, but something I felt, my anxiety and depression kind of hit. I went over to Manchester for a couple of months, but decided to come back to York at that time. Myself and my wife reevaluated our lives and said, well, what do we really want in life? And we miss York, and our house hadn't sold, so we thought let's come back to York. And it was there that I started to do my petals, preparing to teach in the lifelong learning sector, my qualification there, and started to do some adult learning courses and training and supporting and teaching there, which kind of led me to this particular role. So whilst over at City of York Council, and now I'm working at York CVS on the secondment here, which is co-production champion. So it's working alongside the NHS and City of York Council, but working with people on the ground level to help change the mental health transformation funding money. So always working with people from the bottom upwards to kind of change and influence it. So shared lives is something that's been part of my life. Not many people being aware of it, I suppose, but shared lives have been part of my life for 6 years. We've opened our family home to two people with learning difficulties to live with us, and that's what shared lives is. It's like kind of like fostering, but for adults with learning difficulties, which is a very unique role, and it's not for everyone, and it has its ups and downs, but it kind of works for ourselves and our family. So we've got two people that live with us there, and we decided to make a family, and it's been the best time of my life, but also the hardest time of my life. For myself, I'm still accessing, and I don't mind saying I'm still accessing counselling at the moment, for just the feelings I have about my daughter and my son, who are amazing for us. Sadly, my daughter, she has cerebral palsy and epilepsy as well, and it's very all-consuming for us all. So balancing that with everything going on. So mindfulness, really, I think for myself and Dan, it's not just something that we created, but it's something that we really need for ourselves, that escapism. So I'll go on to kind of Yorkie dads and mindfulness and where it come from. So next slide, please, Daniel. So Yorkie dads was mindfulness was kind of born from Yorkie dads. So Yorkie dads was set up by myself and Dan and another friend of ours, Mike, and set up about 8 years ago, and it was purely there just so we could meet up to offload with other dads, eat a lot of bacon, and just to be. And so we had lots of different things that we ran. We had breakfast clubs, we had Lego groups, but the thing that kind of took us to the next level was our hair school, which was featured on BBC News, which just went kind of viral. It was amazing. It really elevated us to the next level. And then what was happening as Yorkie Dads was growing, there was a lot of guys that wanted to join that weren't dads, and a lot of our activities are just for men. So we had our football, and we had a walk and talk, and guys who wanted to join that weren't dads, and we're like, well, yeah, that's fair enough. But we also realised that Yorkie Dads, just his name, might be a little bit off-putting, so we wanted to set something up for all guys to support their mental health. And we're getting a lot of guys on the safe, kind of like safe space, like the Yorkie Dads Facebook group, the closed Facebook group, opening up about some quite heart-wrenching and honest stuff that they're dealing with, and then they're just getting recognition and support from other guys and from other men dealing with it. So we thought we need to share this across Europe for all men. So Yorkie Dads and mindfulness kind of work along side by side, really. So it's an inclusive social community for men in York. Our goal is to bring men together to socialise, exercise, enjoy themselves, talk and let off steam in a non-judging, friendly and supportive environment. These are essential for well-being and health, both physical and mental. So me and Dan, we're not going to mention it too much, but I suppose a trigger warning that we do need to say is that we will be talking about suicide. So if anybody is affected by that, and if they need to go at any point, please do leave, but make sure you message us as well so we can get back in touch with you. So sadly, 79% of all suicides are by men, and we as a group, we're aware that we can't solve all issues of everybody's issues, but not facing them alone, it gives people so much strength. And that's what we're finding in mindfulness. Kind of, we're not going to stop guys from getting to crisis point, but if they are at crisis point, hopefully by being involved with mindfulness, they might just reach out, and they have been reaching out because they know it's a safe space. They do have other options. So by bringing guys together to talk, share, support, laugh, and sometimes, when I say sometimes cry, often cry, it can be the difference. So we want to normalise men being able to talk comfortably about their mental health, and that's what I believe we are doing. So all our activities, which is important, are very low cost or free. So men can benefit from our activities irrespective of what they're doing in their financial backgrounds. We want to try and remove as many barriers to accessing our support as possible. So it's all grassroots, it's all preventative, and we've done lots of work by building the committee with our impact report. But I suppose our unique selling point at the moment is our free counselling offer, which is run alongside the amazing partnership with Serendipity. So we're getting a lot of guys, 9 times out of 10, I suppose, talking, offloading like this is enough. But there is that 1 in 10 that we really do worry about. We're asking guys who have maybe never talked before to kind of open up and talk. It's really important that you do so. And then they do, and we realise, no, you need some professional help. And often we get referrals from crisis support or their GP, and they go, well, there's a 6-month waiting list. So that's something that we decided to actively change by working with Serendipity. So there's no waiting list at all. There's no cost in a lot of the cases, and we've completely reduced the stigma because 80 guys from our group has accessed it. So they're talking about it amongst themselves and the difference that it does make. And we've been able to do that by having another partnership with York St John University, their counselling department. So there is, we started off with 1 student who was in a 3rd year. Now we've got up to, I think, 18 students who are using 100 hours of placement at the end of their 3rd year, so all at level 7. So that partnership is something that we're so proud of, and we feel that it can, and it is looking likely that we can extend that across the UK. So we're very proud of that. Dan, next slide for yourself, mate.
Thank you, Jack. So we can get on the next slide. There we go. No, that's good. Yeah, so as Jack said, we kind of operate on a 2-tier system in a way, from a sort of grassroots preventative level right through to guys who are raising their hand saying, look, I need some more serious intervention or some counselling or some more, in-depth support. So what we did was very much based on the model that we created with Yorkie Dads, was just trying to think of events where guys can get together, and what we find is if they've got an activity or something to do, then it's almost natural around that. They'll start conversing and talking and maybe sharing. And I think one thing we've learned through the journey is that myself and Jack and Mike and Matty and Sam, who are the 3 other committee members, it's right that we acknowledge them in all this and the role they play. The 5 of us, we all are we like to talk, don't we? As you can probably tell, it's hard to shut us up sometimes. We are quite sociable. We're quite good value in the pub, I think, and things like that. But some blokes, and when I say some, it's surprising, it's quite a lot, struggle. They find social anxiety is a really real thing. So getting people out to these events, just getting them there in the first place, for some guys is a massive step. And what we've seen is with these events, I won't go through them all one by one, but we have the walk and talk, we have a circuits class, we have football 3 times a week now, we got an allotment at Haxby, we have some socials. These events are ongoing. It's a real schedule that we've got. The one that I would highlight that's happened recently is the monthly night socials. So we've gone into a partnership with the York Knights rugby team. And on the first Monday of the month, at the new stadium, they host basically a coffee session. So this is a bit different, this one, because all the other activities that are listed here are based around an activity. With this one, we actually get guys in a room, sat around like a conference table. Everyone has a coffee, and we have a chat. And Jack and I compare it, and we did a few online during lockdown, which went quite well. But we've done 2 now actually in person, and the last one was incredible. It really was. I won't go into details about what was discussed. No one was obligated to speak at the session. It's completely up to you if you want to share and do it. But a lot of guys did, and we had 15 lads around the table, all different ages, all different backgrounds. Talking about your mental health is a huge equalizer. You leave your ego at the door and you come in, and people were sharing. Some guys got quite upset. They really opened up about some things that were going on in their lives, and it was incredibly moving, some of it. But to a man, everyone left feeling better that they'd been there and that they'd had the opportunity to share. And for me, that is really a microcosm of what mindfulness is all about. It's the peer-to-peer support aspects and shared experience. So what I described earlier with my Bell's palsy, I can share some of the experience I had and things like that with these guys and whoever if they want it. Jack can do the same. And you know, it was quite a special event, really. And like I said, it really summed up what we're about. And I think it also goes to show that when we're talking about mental health, it doesn't need to be something that you consider at crisis point. It should be something that really you might be doing, you might be helping yourself with unknowingly, just by little things like treating yourself, by going to the gym, by having a chat, by ringing your mate, just things like that. These are all things that we are promoting and encouraging within the community we've created. Some other things that we've got on the go, Jack, if you just want to raise the bag that you have there, we've just launched our own coffee blend. You can see Jack modeling it there, looking lovely, Jack. Which is fantastic, that we've done with Cloudgate Brewery, Cloudgate Coffee Makers, I should say, based in Thurskney of York, and we get a portion of every sale, which is fantastic. Popton Football Club have been doing fundraising events for us. They did the 3 Peaks last year. We've got a 24-hour football match coming up this year. We've got a Jorvik radio spot now every 2 weeks, Spotify accounts. We're getting GP referrals. We're creating new partnerships. It feels like every week. So if I just go on to the next slide, these are all regional organisations that we are working with in some capacity, some bit more in depth than others. And to say this is exciting is an understatement, to be honest. We're really excited about where this can lead. It does feel like it's starting to take off. For example, with the Grand Opera House, we have our posters up around the building. Jimmy Carr plugged us on stage, which was very cool before Christmas, and we're at the Ross Noble gig this Saturday, so we'll be doing the same thing there. So that's exciting. I was talking to York College only yesterday about things we can do. So it's exciting. It does feel like it's starting to grow and expand, and more people are getting aware of what we're doing. Jack, do you want to just talk about this slide?
Yeah, and as Dan was saying there, I'll just go back to that last point. What's fantastic about all these partnerships is we're not asking for them. People wanted to give back, either they've accessed our counselling and they've benefited from it, or they're raising money for us on behalf of somebody that sadly might have taken their own life, and really wanting to make a difference and make a change. And it's so humbling and so rewarding to be working with these inspirational people who are like, yeah, I want to make a difference, and you seem to be doing that, and we want to be part of that. So Charlie, the Lancaster Foundation, amazing partnership. Sadly, Charlie took his own life a couple of years ago, and he was the man about town. He was a confident one, and often raising money for lots of different charities around York as part of York Round Table. And humbling, they got in touch with us and saying, no, we want to work together and do a few fundraisers for your guys, for the free counselling for people to access and the difference that you're making. So just amazing, all the partners that we're working with, and it's just continued every day. We've seen to somebody else wanting to give back and raise money on behalf of someone. So for all those partners, thank you so much, because it is making a difference. We now have 80 guys who have accessed our counselling, which we think is just amazing. So we've got all of that stuff going on, but I suppose where the golden nuggets, where the stuff that we're really proud about, is stuff that you probably wouldn't see, because it's either in our closed groups or it's within our WhatsApp groups as well, where the magic is really happening, and the support that you feel from guys who have experienced their own kind of mental health struggles, really supporting others. And it's fair to say that for myself, certainly doing all of this really helps with me with my mental health by supporting others. And you see that because suddenly from 1 minute they're struggling on the group, and then the next week they're helping others because they've been supported. So these are just a few snapshots of some of our closed Facebook groups, which really kind of like just really explain what we're all about. So I'll let you read that. And Dan, if you want to, you probably read it by now. If you want to go on to the next one, I'm not too sure if you can read that smaller one, but I'll read it. So looking forward to meeting up with whoever turns up on the 3rd of October. Bit nervous, to be honest, but I'll be there. And I suppose something as simple as that, to be honest like that, and say I'm nervous, he's just met with a barrage of support and love and kindness from other guys. And we never really had to explain about our ethos or what we're about. Sometimes once or twice, maybe over the past couple of years, we've had to
I think we've lost Jack. Shall I step in? Are you still there, Jack?
see the amount of comments to that, man. There's 10 comments then, just of all support, saying, I'm going to be down there, don't worry, mate. I felt exactly the same as you. Real kind of just often, just that at that critical moment where he might not have turned up, he just put that message on, and then boom, he was attacked with support, and then he was down at the group, at the activity. So the other one, the middle one there, I don't know if you can read it, but I'll read it out. Since the age of 11, I've struggled with anxiety that has developed other issues such as low confidence and struggles with anything. I constantly feel I've wasted my whole life, although I'm only 24. I lead myself to believe my life is already over and there's no point in giving anything a proper go anymore. So that for that guy there, I mean, really kind of honest about where he is at the moment, and somebody that's very much struggling and at crisis point. And then he's just met with support, kindness from other people who are saying, other guys in the city saying, don't worry, I felt exactly the same as you. So he suddenly realizes he's not alone and there's other people feeling that way. And it's okay to feel that way, and it's really empowering to get the support and kindness from others. And then they tag me in and say, I think Jack's got some counselling, like I'm dealing out counselling, and maybe you can help and support, and we do it and get support instantly. And that's the critical point. I think if somebody opens up and talks about their struggles and we really feel they need support, there's no threshold with our counselling. You know, it's not like you're getting 6 free weeks to Las Vegas, you're getting 6 free counselling sessions. And we think if a guy comes to us and say that they're struggling, then more than likely he needs that support. And we can offer it him, either the affordable counselling or the free counselling, which is paid by us, which is fundraised by all our amazing partners out there. And just another one there. Hey guys, I've been in the group for a while. After getting it remembered, I don't want to feel out of place with this group. It's just a weird week for me. Just wanted to introduce myself and see how people are. Something just so small like that, and then the amount of comments that you get of support and kindness, and that's where the magic happens. Dan, you want to talk?
There we go. Sorry, there was always going to be one, wasn't there? Started talking on mute. There we go. Yeah, as Jack said, we've got all the interaction on the socials. On Yorkie Dads, we've got 1,000 members on the Facebook group now. We haven't got that many on Menfulness, but it's a bit more active in terms of the WhatsApp group we have there and things like that. We have started to produce our own material, so the photo that you can see where the people are holding the posters, that's at the Opera House, as I alluded to earlier. We've got signs up in various GP surgeries. You're seeing them popping up now. We have got the manual, as Jack is modelling again for us there, which was something we put together solely using advice that has been given to us by our members. So these are all, real tested things that people can do to consider about your mental health. Some of it, when you read it, might seem like it's stating the obvious, but they're all things that we do tend to neglect when, in the hustle and bustle of life, and, we're all very busy. So that's gone down really well. They're popping up everywhere, and we're putting banner stands. The one at the bottom there is at the hospital, just near my office. We got one up at Roco York a few weeks ago. So, we are getting our presence known, and when that happens, we start getting more people coming in, like Jack said, and we're now at this lovely point where organisations are approaching us. But you have to bear in mind we're doing this as volunteers, so this is outside of our day jobs and everything. So it's keeping us busy, isn't it, Jack? Maybe a bit too busy at times, but we love doing it. We absolutely do. So we'll knock it onto the next page. There we go. And just to finish off, I'll let Jack have the final word, but I think Jack mentioned earlier, we recently produced an impact report, which has a lot of statistics about what we've achieved over the last sort of 2 or 3 years. As you can see from the photo there, that's Mike on the right, who's one of our fellow founding committee members. The Show for Men endorsement isn't going to be coming anytime soon. There's not a hair between us, sadly, which is an indicator of how long it's been since we graduated. But we're super proud of what we've achieved with Menfulness. We're not affiliated with anything political, social, or cultural. We're really just doing this because we feel it's the right thing to do. And as Jack said, we get just as much out of it as the other participants and the guys in the community. We've met some fantastic people doing this, made some lifelong friends. Really we should be acknowledging about 20-30 of the guys who really do get involved and help us out. If anyone, you can access the impact report on our website, menfulness.org. And there's some testimonials in there. We've got some real success stories, really, of guys who we've helped in our little way, who've managed to turn their lives around. Jack, do you want to have the last word? He usually does. You there, Jack?
I am. Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, mate.
All right, okay. Sorry, I can't see myself, so I didn't know. I was fiddling around with the computer. I was trying to put the impact report on the computer. So I mean that's a quick tour of Menfulness. It's been really nice actually preparing for this webinar. Just actually seeing the journey that's happened and the reason why we're doing it, and actually putting stuff down. And we're immensely proud of it, but it's working in very much partnership. Every time we're like, oh, I'm exhausted here, I can't really do anything more. Then we get another partner on board. We go, no, it's all right. We really believe in this and the difference that was make, and let's drive this forward. So thank you so much for all those people who have backed us and that support, and certainly Yorks and John have been fantastic supporters. So there's so many people to thank. But I might have to quickly thank my wife, because she often says that if it wasn't for the women behind you giving you this time to do this, then it wouldn't happen. And that's very true. We're working full time. I've got family commitments, shared lives commitments, and then all of this stuff. But if it wasn't for those good ladies behind us, none of this would be done. So I will have to thank them. So let me try and see if I can get back onto my screen so I can see myself, because I just feel like I'm talking to. But
okay,
if you want to talking down.
No, I think that's it. So if anyone's got any questions that they want to ask us at this point, feel free. Thank you very much.
Dan, Jack, thank you so much for sharing your story. It feels like a real privilege to hear the journeys that you took, and to see the work that you've achieved. And you talk about being super proud of what you've achieved, and I can absolutely understand why you would be. It's a fantastic achievement. Thank you for sharing that with us. We're going to kick into the Q&A. Jamie, do you want to say anything before we kick off with some questions for Dan and Jack?
Yeah, just to echo what Jim said, I think it's incredible the work that you've done, the journey that you've been on together to create something that, you know, is clearly very, very needed, unfortunately. But the work that you've done, I mean, I'm absolutely proud that two of our alumni are making such a positive impact in the community. So again, thank you very much for sharing your journey with us.
Oh, thanks, mate. Appreciate that.
Obviously, I want to ask a question about, you know, the set of golf clubs that I never wanted that I suddenly have. You know, come right back to the start of that. But we won't kick off with that one. We'll kick off with a question about what would you say is the single best piece of advice you've been given that has helped you on your journey to the point you're at? I don't.
Go on, Jack. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, more recent advice, I suppose. Social media wasn't around when I was at university, which I think is a good thing, because I'm not too sure if I would have graduated, if I'm honest. But somebody once, a few years ago, said to adapt your socials. So I'm not a big fan of social. I feel like, you know, the world is getting more and more connected, but ever more lonely. You know, and mental health is certainly increasing. And I think this kind of perfect world that we all have is, which is posted on social media. So kind of limit your social media as much as you can. But I forgot who told me, but just you can limit who you're following. But then also what I do is follow really inspiring stuff. So every day, and people that inspire me every day. So I'm seeing stuff on a daily basis that kind of gives me a lift. So when I'm going into my feed, I certainly love to follow the Piccadilly staff board and the underground board. And on Saturday, they posted something that said, if someone tells you you can't, they're showing their limit, not yours. And every time they post something, it really kind of hits me. So you know, just kind of adapt your socials to help you have better days, I suppose. My mum's always said to treat everyone the same, and that's what I try to do. Something I suppose you know, you talk to everybody at whatever levels, and trying to have conversations, and all of the stuff that we do is about relationships that we have with people, and people wanting to, they want to be part of mindfulness, but they want to be part of our journey and building those relationships. So, you know, really harness those and work together.
It's a good question. I've probably got a couple of things. One is probably relating to personal experience. Life is really just peaks and troughs. It always is. Bad times don't last. Good times don't necessarily either, but it's always just ups and downs. And to me, that applies to everything in life. You know, your personal life, work. It applies in sport. You know, Man United were on top for years, but they're not now. You know, Wigan Rugby League. I'm a Rugby League fan. They were on top for years, but they're not now. You know, it's all circular. It's all just peaks and troughs. Politics, COVID, you name it. So, you know, I think you've always got to bear in mind that things change. Nothing lasts forever. But someone said to me once, and this has always stuck with me, that experience is just another word for comfort. And when I asked him, what do you mean by that? He said that you never stop learning. And he's right. You never stop learning. Again, throughout your life, work, home, whatever it is. But you always learn really more from negative experiences. So if you have a negative experience, and however stressful that might be, if that experience happens again, then you've already been through it, and you can reach into your back pocket and you know how to deal with it. You know, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? And you get almost a feeling of comfort from that. And I always, you know, I use that at work quite a lot. You know, if you have to have difficult conversations at work, which we all do, it's never as bad the second time. Once you've got through it the first time, you have that bit of comfort having been through it before. So I thought that was a good bit of advice.
I think those are great bits of advice, and things that we can absolutely all learn from. I think one of the things, Dan, that I took from what you were saying in the presentation as well, that is a bit of advice that I think resonated with me, is talking about mental health doesn't need to be at crisis point. That grassroots piece, that early intervention, is incredibly important, and that's one of the things I've taken. Jamie, over to you.
Yeah, so you mentioned there, Dan, about experience and that helping when something goes wrong because you've been in that situation before. So it leads very nicely into our second question, which is, what have you done potentially wrong along the way that you have learned from? You've just spoken that life isn't always a straightforward and easy path. So is there anything that sticks out to you as something that didn't go so well that you did get experience from?
If I take that one first, Jack, probably finding a balance is absolutely key, because that's partly why I got the Bell's palsy. I was burning, as they say, burning the candle at both ends. Granted, I was in my mid-20s. If it was now, I'd recognise the signs, because again, it comes with experience, doesn't it? So I think finding a balance in everything in life is really important. You need a work-life balance. You shouldn't let work overtake your life at the neglect of other things. And something I learned, when you finish university, it takes you years. You need a number of years of professional life experience under your belt. You don't know it all when you finish uni. You have to get out there and get into the workplace and live your life a bit, because it wasn't until really I was in my 30s, I would say, that I started to feel a bit more comfortable in my own skin. It's kind of like learning to drive. You don't really learn until you've passed and then you're out on the road doing it. So if that answers your question, I think it's, you don't know it all when you leave uni. Just give yourself time, get yourself in somewhere, and just learn, and just keep at it.
Yeah, brilliant. It's brilliant advice. Jack, anything from you on that point?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, there's quite a few things I did wrong, and we're learning from them every day. And I suppose all of us, with mindfulness, is the success of it from it it's been all of us learning from it, and your journey, and for other people to learn from as well. So it's not only just you learn from that, you can actually help and try and inspire other people and kind of go, oh, I went through that particular problem myself, and you get that quite a lot within the group chats of other people. Kind of go, oh, I had to deal with that. Yeah, I'm struggling. I haven't got access to my kids, or just lots of kind of conversations like that, and them supporting each other, so they suddenly feel like, oh, somebody else has been through this, and I'm not alone. And as I've mentioned quite a few times, but partnership and talking and being honest has always been key. And although myself, Dan, and the other committee members, we set up mindfulness, it's still something that I've struggled with, to actually be honest about my own mental health to other people, because I feel like a sense of responsibility that all other people are struggling, and I've set it up so I can't be seen to be vulnerable and talk about my own mental health struggles. But by doing that, it actually works the opposite way, in actually the support, kindness and guidance that you get from other people who have been through that. It actually really works. So it's only, I suppose, over the last year I've been a lot more honest about that. Although mindfulness has been going for three or 4 years, and always I felt like that sense of I needed to support others, and they're struggling. But in fact, none of us can fix anybody's problems, but not facing them alone is the power of that. So by kind of sharing journey, then you just being honest about it, that you're not alone. It's quite empowering, with a room full of blokes who also had their own journey to support each other, really picking each other up that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. And I think that's the key, isn't it? It's that sort of shared experiences and then sharing it with other people. That's something that I found, Jim, when we did our podcast, and that we might all come from different places, but at the end of the day, sometimes sitting down and talking about what's going on is one of the best ways to go. So yeah, no, thank you very much for that, Jack. Back to you, Jim.
I think you said in the presentation, mental health is a great leveler, and it absolutely is. And having that open conversation is so important, and you kind of set that up really well. We've got a question for you which is coming in through the Q&A, and it's a comment knowing that the great work that you do, and somebody who's known you both doing the course together. Would you ever consider branching out and doing talks at other universities to support men and mental health? And if so, you've got an offer here to be hired.
Yeah, hi Kirsten, nice to see you. Well, virtually, as it were. Yeah, absolutely. I was talking to, like I said, I think I said in the presentation, I was talking to York College yesterday about possibly doing things there. I think one thing that we need to emphasize with Menfulness is it really does feel like it's starting to gain traction and it's growing, and it's a nice problem to have. But like I said earlier, we're just volunteers and we're doing this outside, so we're always on the lookout for new partnerships and new funding streams. And the dream is that we do this as a job. You know, we'd love to do it as a job, and whether we get to that point or not, I don't know. But yeah, to answer your question, Kirsten, yeah, call my agent. Yeah, I'd be happy to do it. I don't know what Jack thinks, but yeah, that sounds good.
Oh, is it Kirsten? Absolutely not. No way. I'm trying to stay away from them. No, of course. we love talking, as you can probably tell, about Menfulness. We're very, very proud of it. It's just capacity. I hate that word because it doesn't sit comfortably with me. Because me, Dan, and the committee, we'd always try new ideas and doing different things. But you know, we're both working full time and trying to get the time to deliver these talks. So, but you know, hold your horses, because we are looking, well, we are applying for charity status with that, and we are looking at other funding streams as we grow. We feel the message is universal, and certainly supporting guys and lived experience. We're very excited about working with York College, or certainly me and Dan are, in terms of like some kind of mentoring scheme, and supporting younger people when they're going to college and university. Is very, very daunting place. One thing that I've always taken with me from university is when I joined the rugby team as a fresher, we were suddenly put amongst, we had a family, and so your granddad was a third year, and that's Bob. Shout out to Bob. And my dad was Spady, and I had a brother, Kylie. None of them are actually their names. I still don't know their real names, but they're still friends now. And we looked out for each other, and they came around and said, "Oh, how's it going?" And just simple things like, "I don't know where to get my food," or "Oh, it's all right, mate, it's fine." And that's something I think that as a model for Menfulness that we do take on. The new guys that come in, we try and mentor them up with other people that might be going through, to go, "Oh, maybe you want to do the circuit class with that guy there," and you introduce them, and it naturally happens and evolves. So that's something, certainly there's a lot of stuff that I've learned from the rugby team that I won't be taking into my adult life, but I think that in terms of the support, the camaraderie, the friendship, and throughout my university life, I had that support. And then I had my kids when I was in the second year, and Joe, and it was wonderful. And I put my arm around him and supported him, and still messaging now. He still calls me dad, you know, and he's almost 40 himself. So that's great. And I think more clubs and societies, I don't know if they do that now, but certainly something that I was pushing when I was student union president to do. That really, that small, minute thing for one person make all the difference, that they've got that one person that, and no question is stupid, just give me a call, or I'll see you at the social, we'll meet up half hour before and talk to you and see how you're getting on. It really does make the difference, and that's something that we our philosophy, I suppose, that support other people coming through.
That's fantastic. And again, I think just recognizing something we talked about through the podcast was those moments of transition, and when people come into university, when you come into college, but those moments of transition continue throughout your life. I started a new job a couple of weeks ago, and you've got that sort of pressure of people looking at you, being the expert, knowing what you're doing, and you still feel that same sense of I've no idea. I'm learning as I go, and you need the networks and the support and the community, and I think that's where it really is so important to be able to speak out. Thank you. We've got a question about how you find the time to achieve all you do, and again, looking at the volume that you shared with us, and talking about that sort of pressure to run out to manage the time can lead to sort of stress and disappointment. How do you now balance that?
That's a good question, because really that's not heeding my own advice about how I got Bell's palsy. I'm surprised the other side of my face hasn't gone, to be honest. In the last few years we've been so busy, but I think it's a sense of fulfillment, to be honest. For me, I echo Jack's sentiment about our wives. Donna's an absolute angel, and she wholeheartedly supports me with this. We've got Josh, who's 7, and Kiki, who's 12. Kiki has autism, and has some health issues, and that it's challenging at times. So it keeps me busy. But I have a very happy home life. I love doing what I do with mindfulness. I still hit the pads at kickboxing every now and then, and do things like that. One thing I again, going back to mindfulness, one thing to answer your question, Jim, is one thing I always say with mindfulness is that it's okay to do some self-care. In fact, I think it's absolutely vital that you do self-care. It's not a selfish thing to do. And I always say, always try and have something that you look forward to. Now, it could be a gig, or I love going to gigs. So I feel angsty if I don't have a gig in sort of 3 months' time. I like to have something to look forward to. Could be a holiday, but even just going to the gym on a night, or catching up on your box set on a night, or cooking a nice meal at a weekend, just things like that, looking forward to the football, whatever it might be, reading a book, your favorite podcast, walking the dog with a podcast on, just little things that you enjoy, schedule them in, make sure you take the time to do it. Because if you don't do these little things, and they're small wins, really, they're sort of low-hanging fruit, I think, it's not healthy. So I think that's how I do it. I can manage to sort of separate things out. That's probably how I do it personally. I don't know about you, Jack, because he's just as busy as I am.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. It's a bit of an enigma, mindfulness, because I used to support over City of York Council. I used to support community groups to set up lots of residents associations, parish councils, and a lot of them would fold, not for any particular reason, but it was all because of, I suppose, personalities and not many people getting on. And so something I took from that is like the importance of having a committee and having it with your closest friends, certainly in York, that you can be with. And if you have an AGM and you don't talk about anything on the agenda, it doesn't matter, because you're talking, you open up, and you're with your friends. If it's all with voluntary capacity, then you enjoy it more. So yeah, we're really busy, but it's not just me and Dan. We don't do it alone. And I've learned to kind of say no to stuff, but say no and pass it back on to them. So our football, I'm not particularly into football, but I know a few blokes like it. The guys wanted to set it up, and I was just like, well, yeah, okay. Can you do that? Can you run it? And so you're empowering other people to do it. And we're not particularly precious about anything. We don't mind who does what, as long as it's helping blokes and supporting blokes. That's amazing. So a lot of our stuff is people wanting to give back. So they're doing charity fundraisers for us. They're doing the free peaks, but that was by Poppleton Football Club who wanted to do it for us, and then we just went went and did it. They're doing a 24-hour football game. The Acomb Cricket Club did a fundraiser for us, but these are run by different people who are wanting to feed into mindfulness. So not being precious and letting other people, and often it takes its own kind of direction, but that's fine, that's cool, because that's the way it's meant to be. And if it's under the mindfulness umbrella, and trying to, don't man up, speak up, and it helps blokes, then why would we not? There's no reason to not, and trust that they will do it, and most of the time, or every time, they have done it, and they've done an amazing job. So letting people just go off with creativity and doing it. A lot of these projects, I haven't been myself, I suppose, for the last couple of months in terms of my struggles, and I've had to kind of take a step back and not being precious about anything. Just like, yeah, you can, the coffee stuff, Matty, crack on with it. The night stuff, Dan, crack on with it. None of us are. It's a real kind of level where we are all, the five of us, as very, very equal. And it's wonderful to be part of that. So I don't fit every event that I go to. Sometimes a talking group I might not go to, I might not be right at that time, and that's important to be aware of that. Like, it might just, you don't know what you're going to hear, and that's okay.
I think we might have lost Jack for a second there. But again, really powerful, really important advice. I think we could listen to you both talk all afternoon. It's just fantastic to have you share so openly with us.
Bringing loads of people in and going alongside us, like we're bringing yours and John back in now, which is wonderful.
Thanks, Jack. We lost you for a second there, but we've got the gist of what you're saying, and I was just saying it's really powerful that you're sharing so openly with us, and we're really grateful for that. I think we've got time for one more question, so I'm going to hand over to Jamie.
Yeah, just the final question has come through in the Q&A, asking about LGBT issues. And so do you have any links or work with any LGBT organisations with whom you may work together with to address any of those issues?
Yeah, good question. At present, I'm not aware if we have or not. We haven't actively gone out yet to do so, but it absolutely is a conversation we would have. But that said, we have talked about this, haven't we, Jack, with the other committee members. Yeah, we are open to those conversations if anyone wants to get in touch. And like we said, we're not precious. We're happy to work with anyone. And yeah, that's a conversation we can have, absolutely.
Yeah, following up on that, yeah, absolutely. Please do get in touch. We're constantly, different groups getting in touch with us. We want to be as diverse as we possibly can. And yeah, so absolutely, 100% get involved.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. I could listen to you both talk about what you do for hours. But I think we're probably now at the time that we're going to have to call it a day. So just want to say a massive thank you to both of you for coming along and sharing your experiences and your story today, and for everyone that's tuned in live. And the recording will be available for people to check out afterwards as well. So yeah, thanks very much to both of you.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.